Alright guys, now we're going to be talking about RAM. But before we dive in head deep, I want to talk about some of the terms we're going to be mentioning during this video. We will talk about DDR, we will also mention the capacity, the frequency, and the type of channels you can get RAM in. We will also mention just the general uses and the do's and don'ts with it. We will also conclude on the different things you need to have compatibility with the other components. So let's start off by telling what RAM is. RAM stands for Random Access Memory, and what it is, it's the temporary memory of your computer. When you open a program on your desktop, the information from your permanent memory will be taken into your temporary memory. So the information will be taken from the hard drive, for example, into the RAM. Now the reason you do this is because the hard drive is much slower than the RAM. Therefore you want to, and accessing it takes a bit more time than accessing the RAM. Therefore, if you have the information of the program you're currently running on the RAM, that means you'll be able to access it much faster, edit what you're editing much faster, run the program faster, do everything faster. It basically makes your computer more fast. Like I mentioned that word 10 times. Now, RAM, talking about speed, RAM comes at different frequencies. Nowadays, the most common frequency it comes at, the speed, is 1600 megahertz. It's measured in the same speed as a graphics card. And 1600 megahertz is great, but you can go up all the way up to 2133 megahertz with RAM, and now that is crazy. However, be aware that RAM, the higher the frequency is, the faster it is, it can get slower because it's got this thing called case latency. And what case latency is, the speed it takes, the time it takes, not speed, time it takes for the memory module to detect information within it and edit it. So basically, the lower that number is, the better it is. Therefore, you want to try to get a good balance between case latency and the frequency of the RAM. Now, bear with me, it sounds all complicated, but you can find the case latency in the specifications and of the product you're trying to get, and you can just see the lower the number, the better. Another thing you have to think about with RAM is about the fact whether your CPU can handle it or not. If you get something super powerful for 300 bucks, there's no point of getting a $100 CPU which cannot handle it. You'll be basically limiting what your RAM can actually do. There's no point in that. So you want to be sure that your CPU, when you're buying it, you want to look at the specifications and be sure it can handle the speed at which your RAM runs, because the computer might just not work if it's not compatible. Additionally, RAM comes in different generations. The generations are determined with the DDR. Basically, DDR is slow. DDR2 is twice faster than DDR, which was slow. And then DDR3 is now the most modern day RAM we can have for the RAM sticks, and DDR3 is what you should get. It doesn't cost much more than any of the others. It's all reasonable prices. It depends on what brand you buy and how fast you get it. Now let's talk about the capacity of the RAM. When you're building a gaming rig, you do not need more than 8 gigabytes of RAM, and when you're building just a all-in-one PC, you only need 4. The reason for that is that no game is going to need more than 8 gigabytes. But if you're doing something like workstation work, where you're doing heavy video editing, you're gonna need more of that RAM, because the programs are quite heavy and they demand a lot of space on your computer. But if you're not doing something workstation RAM intensive, you only need 8 gigabytes. I went ahead and got 16 because, I mean, it wasn't that expensive. It was good quality RAM for a good price. Another thing to consider in RAM is what channel you're getting them in. So the motherboards, they come with different channels. Some motherboards, like mine, come in dual channel. That means that the RAM you're getting for it has to be dual channel as well. And what dual channel is basically it's 2 RAM sticks, dual, working together most effectively. So basically you can have 2 sets of dual, so you have 4 RAM sticks. There's also triple channel, which is basically 3 sticks working together, and you can get 3 or 6 sticks for triple channel memory. And then there is quad channel memory, basically quad 4, so you get 4 sticks or 8 sticks, and that's how it works. And finally, when it comes to compatibility, You want to check that the DIMM slots are the slots where the RAM comes into the motherboard are the same have the same amount of pin slots as the RAM sticks do. So typically nowadays it's approximately 240 pins for the RAM sticks. Therefore, if you're getting a 240 pin RAM stick, you want to get a motherboard which has a slot for a RAM stick which has 240 pins. Therefore, you want to be compatible at that over there. Now, to summarize, speed of the RAM must not be too much for the processor to handle. Additionally, the pins on the RAM stick must match the pins on the motherboard. Continuing from there, the channels have to match from between the motherboard and the RAM stick. And finally, you want to get something, a motherboard which can, for example, if you're getting a DDR3 RAM stick, you want to get a motherboard which can support DDR3. Now, this sounds all complicated, but if you're having a bit of trouble, just read on the section in the section and look at some of the pictures. Anyway, we're moving on to permanent memory.